Hello, trigonometry student. This video is part 2 of 10.3 polar coordinate. In the first video, we talk about the basic of a polar grid. It is made of a pole and a polar axis, and every single location in the 2D space is identified by how far the particular position is from the pole and also an angle, theta, how far it is from the polar axis. And when I was talking about it, I also talk about R. In terms of distance, it's always positive, right? But R could be negative, so maybe you can actually record it here. R is usually positive. It is if it is just measuring the distance actually from the pole, but R can be negative if the point is in the opposite direction. Opposite, that means 180 opposite direction from the actual r theta. Okay, so r theta and negative r theta are opposite on the in a like a 180 rotation, so like B and C. So record it. And also theta is negative would be if the angles if the angle is clockwise from the polar axis. It's measured clockwise from the polar axis. So add this back in your notes, okay? Because I never talk about R being a negative, but R and also theta can be negative. Okay, so part 2, we said we're going to talk about how to convert a point that has been identified in the polar coordinate to rectangular and also vice versa. So look at this picture. So I have a point in the rectangular coordinate is just x and y, right? To whatever point. In this case, it's actually 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, right? In a rectangular coordinate. But in the polar coordinate would be r and then this theta measure counterclockwise from the polar axis. So how do I calculate r? Because x, y, and r form a right triangle, so it obey the Pythagorean theorems where r squared is x squared plus y squared. So or you can say r is square root of x squared plus y squared, right? So if you know your x, y, you can find r by square rooting x squared plus y squared. What about theta? Theta is related by tangent, right? Tangent of the theta is y over x. So theta is arctangent y over x, opposite over adjacent. And the other way around would be if I know r and theta, how can I find x? So this is a right triangle. So by SOHCAHTOA, sine theta is y over r, right? So sine theta opposite hypotenuse saw y over r. So r sine theta times r on both sides times r times r. So y would equal to r sine theta, which is what we have here. And likewise, r cosine theta is ka. Ka is x over r, right? So multiply r on both sides. Oops, sorry. Multiply r on both sides, you would see that r and r cancel on this side. So that means r cosine theta become x. So that is our two formula to find x and y if I know r and theta. And if I know x and y, that's the formula to find r and theta. Okay, so do an example on how to convert. This is the polar coordinate. The first number is r. The second is the angle, right? So I want to find the position in rectangular coordinate. For a first, I need r. R is, so I need x, right? X is r cosine theta pi over 2. R is actually 3, so I'm going to just write 3. Erase it. So 3. And y is, so this would equal to cosine pi over 2 is 0, right? So it's 3. So it's 0. Y would be equal to what? 3 sine of this pi over 2. But sine pi over 2 is 1, so it's equal to 3. So the point is actually 0, 3. It's actually a point on the y-axis, right? A point on the y-axis always have something pi over 2. Okay. B, the R is -2. Theta is 0 degrees, so x is equal to -2. -2 means this and the opposite, but you just do it. Okay, cosine 0. Cosine 0 is 1, right? So -2 times 1 is -2. What about y? Y is -2 sine 0. Sine 0 is 0, so it's equal to 0. So this is a point on the x-axis, -2, 0. Okay, C is r equal to -1, theta equal to 2 pi over 3. X is -1 cosine 2 pi over 3. Remember your unit circle? What is cosine 2 pi over 3? It's right here, right? So the cosine is 1/2, no, -1/2 with 3 over 2. Our cosine is this one, and our cosine is this number, and this is our sine, the unit circle, right? Remember? So I would say that would be -1 times cosine negative 1/2, right? So that is 1/2. What about y? Y is -1 sine theta, sine 2 pi over 3. So that would be -1 times with 3 over 2. So it's negative with 3 over 2. So the point is 1/2 negative with 3 over 2. So visually, it is actually a point in the xy coordinate, like across 1/2, and then down negative with 3 over 2 is here, right? It's a point here, which makes sense because is 2 pi over 3 is here, and then you opposite it, so it would be here. Okay, so this is how we change from r theta to xy. Okay, x is r cosine, y is r sine. Very easy to do. What about if they give us the rectangular coordinate, I want to change the polar coordinate. So basically, we would need to have r and theta. So r is square root of x squared plus y squared. Theta is arctangent y over x. So let's just do it. So for a, 3, 3, r would equal to square root of 3 square plus 3 square equal to square root of 18. Simplify it is equal to 9 times 2, so it's 3 root 2. You can see that when I do the r, by default, we put the positive r. Okay, it's 3 root 2. Theta is arctangent of y over x. So in this case, it's 3 over 3. This is our x, and this is our y, so 3 over 3. So arctangent 1, and 3, 3 is in the first quadrant, so that's pi over 4. Now be careful. If you have -3, -3, your arctangent is still 1, but you would say 5 pi over 4 because it's in quadrant 3. This one is in quadrant 1, right? Quadrant 1 is positive and positive, and also the angle is in from 0 to 2 pi, so it's pi over 4. So be aware of the situation where you would have a number that is in different quadrant, because arctangent, you have to pay attention that arctangent is positive, positive in quadrant 1 and 3, and negative in quadrant 2 and 4. How do I know which one is which? Look at the original coordinate. You will know which quadrant it is. So in this case, I will label my point as 3 root 2 comma pi over 4. So this is a polar coordinate for 3, 3. Actually more complicated, right? So let's do B. B is, this is the x and this is y. So r is what? R is square root of -1 square plus root 3 square. Negative 1 square is 1. Root 3 square is 3. So it's root 4. Root 4 is 2. Okay. What is theta? Theta is arctangent of root 3 over negative 1. That means negative root 3. So again, if I do the reverse lookup, so it's arctangent negative root 3. And what quadrant are we talking about? Negative 1 root 3. This is actually the rectangular coordinate. Negative, positive is in this quadrant 2, right? The point is in quadrant 2. Quadrant 2 that has a negative root 3 would be 2 pi over 3, right? So theta is equal to, look at your arctangent unit circle. Negative root 3 is in quadrant 2 as well as in quadrant 4. But because the actual point is in quadrant 2, so we say 2 pi over 3. Okay, so our coordinate would be 2 comma 2 pi over 3. Okay, so we have the next one is about converting equation to polar form, a polar equation. I don't think I can finish it in this video, so I'm going to stop here and you will watch video number 3 to convert equation between rectangular equation to polar equation. We'll also teach you how to graph a line or equation in the graphing calculator. So have your graphing calculator ready for the third video.